The Blessing of Vishnu. The writer's name was Arjun. Though it mattered little, no one remembered it long enough for it to matter. His apartment reeked of stale coffee and desperation. Manuscripts scattered like fallen leaves across every surface. 23 rejection letters adorned his wall like trophies of failure, each one a small death. He sat before his typewriter at 3 a.m., fingers hovering over keys that felt heavier than tombstones. The latest rejection letter lay crumpled beside him. Your words lacks the sophistication our readers expect. Perhaps consider a different career path. Different career path? He whispered, voice cracking, as if I chose this madness. The blade on his desk caught the lamplight, winking at him like an old friend. The river outside called to him through the window, dark, patient, promising an end to the endless cycle of hope and humiliation. What's the point? He asked. The empty room. What's the goddamn point of any of this? As his hand reached toward the blade, the air itself seemed to thicken. Light poured through the cracks, in reality warm and golden, carrying the scent of jasmine and eternity. The writer's breath caught as a figure materialized from the luminescence, tall, serene, with eyes that held the weight of infinite compassion. Lord Vishnu stood before him, radiating divine presence that made the shabby apartment feel like a temple. Arjun. Vishnu spoke, his voice like distant thunder mixed with a mother's lullaby. Why do you seek to end what has barely begun? Arjun fell to his knees, trembling. My lord, I have noticing. I have nothing left. No one wants my words. No one sees me. And for this you would silence yourself forever. What else is there? Arjun's voice broke. I pour my soul onto paper and they treat it like garbage. Every story I write, every character I breathe life into, rejected, dismissed, forgotten. I am invisible, my lord, completely invisible. Vishnu moved closer, his presence both overwhelming and comforting. Tell me, child, what is it you truly desire? Recognition, Arjun whispered, tears streaming down his face. To be remembered, to matter, to have my words touch someone's heart the way great writers have touched mine. But I am not great. I am not Tolstoy or Dostoevsky. I am nothing. A knowing smile crossed Vishnu's divine features. Ah, Tolstoy, the master of human nature, chronicler of souls, you admire his work. Worship it, Arjun breathed. War and peace, Anna Karenina, they are perfect. Every sentence, every character. He understood humanity in ways I never will. What if I told you, Vishnu said slowly, that greatness is not always in its time, that the very editors who reject you might not recognize genius even if it danced naked before them. Arjun looked up, confused. What do you mean? I offer you a test, child, an experiment in the nature of human judgment. Vishnu's eyes gleamed with ancient wisdom. I will erase from this world all memory of the Leo Tolstoy. His books, his fame, his very existence gone. You may then submit his greatest works as your own. Let us see if the literary world truly recognizes brilliance or if they are guided by something far more shallow. Arjun's heart raced. You would do that? Make me famous? Using his words. Not to make you famous, Vishnu corrected gently. To show you the truth about the world you so desperately wish to join. The question is, are you prepared for what you might discover? The writer's desperation clouded his judgment. Fame, recognition, validation, Everything he had dreamed of was being offered on a divine platter. Yes, he said without hesitation, yes, I want to know. Vishnu raised his hand and reality seemed to shiver. So be it. But remember, child, truth is often bitter than ignorance. With a gesture that seemed to tear holes in existence itself, Vishnu rewrote the fabric of human memory. Libraries emptied of certain books, minds erased specific thoughts, and the literary world forgot one of its greatest masters. It is done, Vishnu said, already beginning to fade. Leo Tolstoy never existed. His words await your signature. The next morning, Arjun sat at his desk with War and Peace open before him, the only copy left in a world that had forgotten its creator. He began typing, copying Tolstoy's opening words. Well, Prince Sojinova and Luca are now no more than family estates of the Bonapartes. Each sentence felt like stealing fire from the gods. This was genius, pure and undiluted. Surely the editors who had rejected his work would recognize this masterpiece. 2 weeks later, Arjun carefully packaged the first three chapters and sent them to Literary Horizons, the prestigious magazine that had crushed his dreams more than any other. The response came faster than expected. Dear Mr. Arjun, thank you for your submission. Unfortunately, your story, War and Peace, does not meet our editorial standards. The prose is overwrought, the pacing sluggish, and the historical details excessive. The characters lack the complexity and authenticity our readers expect. We suggest you study contemporary works to better understand modern literary sensibilities. Perhaps consider enrolling in a certain creative writing course. Best regards, Marcus Wilborn, Senior Editor. Arjun read the letter 3 times, each reading making him feel sicker. He sent the story to 5 more magazines. Each rejection was similar: too verbose, outdated style, lacks contemporary relevance, fails to engage modern audiences. One editor even wrote, the author seems to be trying too hard to sound important. True literary merit lies in subtlety and modern sensibility, not in imitating the grandiose style of bygone eras. Arjun sat in his apartment surrounded by the same rejection letters, only now they were rejecting not his work but Tolstoy's. The irony tasted like poison in his mouth. That night Vishnu appeared again, his divine light softer now, tingled with sadness. You have learned something, haven't you, child? Arjun laughed bitterly. They rejected him, they rejected Tolstoy himself, one of the greatest writers who ever lived, and they called him overwrought and outdated. And what does this teach you? That it was never about talent, Arjun said, his voice hollow. It was never about the quality of the words or the depth of story. They don't want art, they want trends. They don't want truth, they want whatever fits their narrow vision of what literature should be. Vishnu nodded slowly. The editors are not evil men, Arjun. They are trapped in their own limitations, their own fears, their own need to appear sophisticated. They reject what they cannot understand, praise what is safe, and mistake fashion for eternal truth. Then what's the point? Arjun asked, echoing his question from weeks before. If even perfection isn't good enough, if even genius is dismissed, then what hope do any of us have? The point, Vishnu said gently, is not to be published by men who cannot see. The point is to write because you must, to create because creation itself is sacred, to tell stories because stories need telling regardless of who listens. But I want to be read, Arjun whispered. I want my words to matter. Your words already matter, Vishnu replied. They matter to you, and that is where all literature begins. The tragedy is not that editors reject good work. The tragedy is that writers let that rejection define their worth. Arjun looked at the Tolstoy manuscripts, then at his own rejected stories. So what do I do now? You write, Vishnu said simply. You write your own stories in your own voice for your own regions. You stop seeking validation from those who are blind and start trusting the voice within you that compelled you to write in the first place. And if no one ever reads them, then you will have lived as a writer, not as a seeker of approval. Some trees grow in forests where no human ever walks, yet they are no less magnificent for their solitude. As Vishnu began to fade, Arjun called out, "Wait, will you restore Tolstoy to the world?" "The world is not ready for Tolstoy," Vishnu said sadly. "Perhaps it never was. Perhaps that is why true artists must create not for their time but for eternity, trusting that somewhere, somewhen, someone will understand." The divine light faded, leaving Arjun alone with his typewriter, his rejection letters, and a new understanding of the world's complexity. The literary establishment was not a meritocracy, but a maze of prejudices, fashions, and fears masquerading as expertise. He sat down and began to type not Tolstoy's words this time, but his own. The story of a writer who learned that the world's blindness was not his failing, that recognition and worth were different creatures entirely, and sometimes the most profound truths were spoken into empty rooms. Outside his window, the river still flowed, but it no longer called to him. Instead, it reminded him that streams continue flowing whether or not everyone watches them, and perhaps that was the most honest way to live, like water, persistent and true to its nature, regardless of who noticed its passage. The rejection letters remained on his wall, but now they seemed less like tombstones and more like reminders of a world too small to contain the vastness of human expression. And Arjun wrote on, no longer writing for editors or readers or fame, but for the simple sacred act of turning silence into a story. In the end, he understood the world was indeed too complicated to comprehend, but perhaps that was exactly why it needed stories, not to explain it, but to honor its beautiful, terrible complexity.